Hello, my name is Sarah Coderre, and I am an employment law, human rights law, and labor law lawyer at Bow River Law in Calgary, Alberta. Today I'll be answering the question of how do I terminate an employment contract? So this answer is going to depend on whether or not you're an employer or an employee. I'll start with an employee because it's fairly simple. For an employee under the Employment Standards Code in Alberta, you are required to give 2 weeks notice minimum to your employer that you are ending your employment if you have been with the company for more than 90 days. Your employment contract might stipulate that you have to give more notice than just the 2 weeks. And if that's the case, then you would give more than the 2 weeks and comply with the terms of the contract. This is, of course, in a situation where you are simply moving on to new employment and you are not looking to claim constructive dismissal or anything like that. If you were claiming constructive dismissal, basically that you're leaving because the employer has forced you out of the workplace, you wouldn't be giving any notice that you're leaving. You would just leave. Moving on, if you are an employer and you wish to end an employee's employment contract, you need to look to the terms of your employment contract. Hopefully, you had a good employment contract drafted before you hired this person, and that contract will have terms in it for how you terminate somebody. In a variety of circumstances. So if you believe you have just cause for termination, you technically wouldn't need to give the person any notice or give them any pay in lieu of notice. But what counts as just cause for termination is a very high bar. So certainly if you think that you have cause to terminate someone's employment, you need to speak with an employment lawyer as soon as possible to ensure that you in fact do have legal cause to terminate them without paying them any severance and without giving them any notice of termination. If you wish to terminate somebody without cause and you do have an employment contract, then you are going to look to the terms of that employment contract and you will do what it says. If it says the person is entitled to 1 month per year of completed service, then you give them 1 month's notice or 1 month's pay in lieu of notice for a year of completed service. If you do not have an employment contract in writing, first of all, you definitely need to make sure you have one going forward. But in this case, you'd want to reach out to an employment lawyer to help you determine what is the appropriate amount of notice to give to this person or pay in lieu of notice. So anytime someone's contract is being terminated, whether you have an employment contract or not, generally speaking, an employer is going to have the option of giving that person a working notice of termination, meaning you'll tell them, Bill, you're not going to have a job in X period of time, and Bill will keep showing up every day and he'll do the work and he'll get paid until his last day of work. Or you will have the option of giving them pay in lieu of notice, in which case you'll call Bill in with HR and you'll tell him, you don't have a job anymore, Bill, here's a severance package for you. This is what was outlined in your employment contract, and this is what you're owed in the event that your employment ends, and you would give him that. If you don't have an employment contract, then an employment lawyer will help you to determine what you should be giving your employee for notice of termination or pay in lieu of notice. And depending on the circumstances, you may want to also consider whether or not you will pay an additional amount to this person in exchange for a release of some kind. So if you have reason to believe that this employee may try to sue you in the future because something may have happened during their employment, you may want to protect the company and look to get a release from that person. And in order to get a release from them, you're going to have to make sure that you pay them more than the Employment Standards Code minimum, if that's what's in your contract, and more than whatever your contract amount is, in order to ensure that this person is being given additional fresh consideration for the promises they're making in the release, which mostly is that they're not going to sue you going forward. So if you are looking at terminating an employee, even if you do have a contract, you may still want to speak with an employment lawyer just to ensure that you've covered off all the bases and to make sure that if there is a release that needs to be drafted to protect the company, that you do get that appropriately drafted and you get advice as to how to handle the termination meeting and present that to the employee.